The most remarkable story is that you almost didn't put Maggie May out, Maggie May, the song Maggie May, because you thought it was shit.
Well, no, the record company thought it was shit.
Oh.
We had 8 tracks for Every Picture Tells a Story.
Right.
And they said, well, we need another track. Have you got anything, in the cupboard or anything? I said, I've got one more song, I haven't finished it.
Yeah.
And that was Maggie May.
And they listened to it and said in their infinite wisdom, this is not a great song.
But we'll put it on anyway.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't think it was much good because it was just so rambling and it didn't have a catch chorus like you needed.
Isn't it amazing when you look back on your career how many mistakes you could have made? Like not putting out Maggie May would have been a major blunder.
Well, I wouldn't have been sitting here today, Howard.
Yeah, because you think about it, like it's just so. It's such a weird thing trying to predict what people are going to like musically.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you reflect on it too much, you could become neurotic.
I've never gone in the studio to try and make a hit, apart from Do You Think I'm Sexy? I knew that was a hit. But otherwise, I go in the studio and make music that I like.
Right. But if you get caught up in, I got to make a hit, you'll never be a trendsetter because you're going to try and repeat what you did.
Yeah, you'll disappear up your own bottom, really.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yes. And, when you think about the odds of, like, there's lots of one-hit wonders out there, but the idea of having a long-term musical career, I think that's why so many artists turn to drugs. I'm talking about especially rock stars. Because
you're not pointing the finger at me, are
I'm
you?
pointing
Howard?
at you. Well, you know how to party, but you weren't the most infamous partier out
far
there.
From it.
Lots of people could bury you under like Keith Moon could outdrink you and
Keith has
out-coke
buried
you.
me, I tell you.
Yeah, you hung out with him.
Yeah.
And he tried to hang with you for a whole night. I mean, you tried to hang with him for a whole night. You couldn't do it.
For 24 hours, it's absolutely impossible.
It's so sad, though.
But I've always been very conscious of my body, because I've played soccer all my life, football as we call it. So
right.
I love to keep myself fit. I've never really indulged that much in drugs.
You even said in the days when everyone was doing coke, you wouldn't snort it because you were afraid of your voice. I mean, your voice is your moneymaker. Your voice is your whole life. So you'd stick it in your ass, right?
Well, let me expand on that, please.
Right.
Ronnie was having trouble with his nose. we'd found a hole in the septum or whatever it is, and so we had to find a new method of inhaling. And so we used, cold pills and emptied them out.
And put coke in there.
Suppositories, like the French do. They stick everything up their bum.
And then you stick it in your ass and you still get high.
Yeah.
No kidding. Why don't more people do that? Because they wreck their nose, don't they?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You really do. When you were growing up, because you have such an unusual voice, did people always tell you, I'm talking about when you were a kid, did they say to you, like I imagine you had dreams of being a singer, and would they say to you, you have such a raspy voice, don't you know you could never be a professional singer? Did people say that to you? Did they knock you down?
No, the only time that happened is when I tried to sign for Decca Records way back in the early 60s. And I talk about it, or I sing about it in the song, You Can't Stop Me Now.
Right.
Well, they were signing pretty boys, they didn't know what to do with me. I had a big nose, load of hair, funny clothes, and I sung with a rough voice. They just couldn't put me in a category, so therefore they didn't sign me.
Yeah, and that's heartbreaking, right? Because you believe in yourself, and when a record company executive tells you something, you think they know something.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
And it can wreck your spirit, right?
Yeah. Well, it didn't wreck mine because my dear old dad said, "Keep going, keep going."
Your dad was a supportive guy.
So much.
See,
and my family.
I always pictured you from this rough and tumble family, soccer players, all that stuff, and that they would probably try to discourage you and say, "That's no business for a man. You should be a soccer player, do something manly like dig coal or something." I don't know.
Well, it was scary in those days, to go into the music business and become a singer.
Right.
Who knew it was going to last 40 odd or 50 years like it's lasted for me?
When you went to school, and you didn't grow up a wealthy man or anything. You grew up in
far
a
from it,
poor
Howard.
neighborhood. Were you the kind of kid that got a lot of women? I mean, were you the kind of guy that everyone just sort of knew you were going to be famous or you were going to be somebody? Or were you more of a guy who just blended in with the wall?
I think I've always tried to stand out somewhat, but I didn't have much success with the girls until I became a singer.
Was there ever a point you decided, I'm going to give all this up because I just can't make it? Were there breaking points where you got a lot of discouragement?
Many times, and I had an apprenticeship of, say, when I joined Long John Baldry's band when I was 19, until Maggie May, which was when I was 26.
When you joined Long John Baldry's band, they discovered you singing on a train track somewhere? How does that work? You one of those guys who sings like in the subway here in New York?
Yeah, like an old drunk, yeah.
Is that what you would do? You would go down there. Would you have a hat? Would you ask for money?
Yeah, well, I was a busker. So what happened, we'd all been over to see Muddy Waters or somebody like that.
Right.
And John was on the same platform going back to London as I was. I was laying on the floor playing my harmonica, and he describes it beautifully. He said, I approached this pile of rags with a nose sticking out and this harmonica sound, and it was Rod Stewart, and I asked him to join my band and be a backup singer.